This look is giving everything it needs to give. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be transforming this gorgeous diva to a more beautiful pretty lady. If this is your first time seeing my video, you're welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always coming back. It means a lot to me. So if you're excited to see how this look was created, stay tuned and let's get right into it. To begin, I'm going to be cleansing the skin using this micellar water from Nia Beauty. This step is very important because you need to work on a clean canvas, so cleanse away. Then up next, I'll be using this nail mucin serum from Blossom Makeup to infuse some hydration to the skin. I'm going to be using my brush to spread it all over the face and massage thoroughly so that the skin will get the hydration I need. Then up next, I'm going to be using this moisturizer from Blossom Makeup. I love this moisturizer because it works very well with all skin type. I'm going to be spreading it thoroughly all over the face, and then I'm going in with this primer from the same brand, Blossom Makeup. I'm going to be applying it all over the face apart from under the eyes. You don't apply my primers under the eyes, so just use your brush, spread it all over the face, and then you dry down with your fan. I always dry my makeup, like each skin prep I do, I always dry it down with a fan before I go into the next. For foundation, I'm using these two foundation from Huda Beauty and Illegal Pro to get the kind of consistency I want and the coverage I need. I'm going to be using my brush to spread it out all over the face. I love working with both brush and beauty blender. I go in with a brush first, then after that I'm going to be smoothing it out using a beauty blender. For my blush, I'm using this orange color from the Blossom lipstick palette. I'm going to be using this brush to spread it out, and then I'm going to be blending it even further with my beauty blender to get that seamless look. I'm going to be repeating the same thing on the other side of the cheeks. Spread it out with a brush and then smoothing it out with a beauty blender to create that perfect flush. Blend that face, baby. Moving on, we are going to be highlighting the face using this concealer from Blossom Makeup. I'm going to be using a shade close to her skin tone and a shade like 2 shades lighter than her skin tone to blend in the concealer very well. I'm going to be spreading the concealer out first using my brush, and then after that I'm going to be blending it even further using my beauty blender. As always, I'm a beauty blender and brush kind of makeup artist. I love working with both of them, but if you feel comfortable working with just brush or just beauty blender, that's fine as well. But for me, this way it works for me. I work with brush first, then I go in with my beauty blender. That way it helps me to blend my products beautifully. And while placing my highlights, I work in segments. I don't like apply concealer all over the face. I love to work one part of the face at a time. I believe that way it helps me to get control of my application. Now I'm done highlighting under the eyes. I'm going to be spreading the concealer from her forehead down to the bridge of her nose. I'm going to be blending out the concealer as always using my beauty blender, making sure that everything is blended seamlessly into the skin. After that, we will now be going into contouring the nose. Now for contour, I'm picking a foundation a shade darker than her complexion, and the brush I'm using for this contour is this angle brush from Vikabe Cosmetics. This brush helps me to structure the nose very well. And one thing I do when I'm structuring the nose is that I take it like one tap at a time. I don't drag the foundation all the way down, because if I do that, my nose contour always it doesn't come out well. So I trace my nose contour with the brush, then I'll now soften everything using my beauty blender, because what you're trying to create is an illusion, not like a two parallel line. You have to blend it so it doesn't look harsh. To set the face, I'll be using this powder palette from Blossom Makeup. I went back in to blend out all the creasing that occurred under the eyes, and now I'm going to be using this soft blending brush from Nuban Beauty to gently tap the product under the eyes. When setting under the eyes, you don't need to like pack too much product at a time. I like to use a tap 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 motion, and when I pick up my powder, I dust off the excesses and just gently use a tapping motion to like set my under eye in place. One thing about product placement, you don't need to pack product at once. You just need to build up, because if you pack a lot of products at once, it will just stamp there. Blending it out will now become difficult. But once you pick up your product, dust off the excesses and go in with whatever is remaining in your brush. That way you have control, like I always mention. You don't have to like pack everything at once. Makeup is all about building. Don't pack products all at once. I'm going to be using a lighter shade of in the powder palette to like spread it out on the forehead, under the eyes, in the middle of her nose, and now I'm using her skin tone to set the rest of the face with this powder brush from Nuban Beauty. I love how soft these brushes are on the skin, and it helps me to do my skin makeup well. To set her contour, I'm using this dark shade from the Blossom powder palette. Using it to add depth to the cheeks, to make the cheeks more structured. I'm going to be using the same brush I use in setting the face to for this process, and I'm making sure I'm blending out seamlessly. I'm using the same shade of powder I use in setting her contour on her cheek to set her nose contour, to make the nose more defined and pronounced. And the brush I'm using is a blending brush. For makeup entirely, you have to get a lot of blending brushes in different sizes and different forms for different purposes. I mean, there is nothing like too much brushes. You can never have a lot of brushes. For blush, I'm using the blush palette from Blossom Makeup Shy Girl palette. I'm going to be picking up very softly because the blush is very pigmented and I need a very, very soft blush going on. So I'm going to be applying it very lightly. And now I'm going to be baking the under eyes using setting powder from Blot's Beauty Cosmetics. It's a translucent powder. I'm going to be applying it under the eyes to bake under the eyes and leave it there to catch all the fallouts that will occur when I'll be doing my eyeshadow application. So I'm going to be using my beauty blender to gently like tap it in. I'm using a tap 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 motion to place it where I need it. I'm also going to use it to structure her cheekbone to make my contour and the blush I applied on the cheekbone more structured and more precise. And after that, we'll be going over to the brows and the eyeshadow. For brows, I'm going to be using a hair wax to tame down the brows to get it to be very flat. For my eyebrow application, I basically use this brow tamer to like give the brows direction, to structure out the brows to the direction I want it to be. And once I'm done applying the hair wax, I'm going to be using my hand to like tap it down so that it can lay down very flat. After that, I'm going to be using my powder palette to set the brow tamer in place to cancel out all the greasiness that occurred during the process of taming down the brows. And after setting the brows, I'm going to be outlining my brows using my brow pencil from Davies, and I'm going to be making sure that my pencil is very sharp. I'm laying emphasis on extremely sharp, because if you don't sharpen your pencil, you will not get a very precise and sharp outline. Both the process of outlining the brows and the process of actually filling in the eyebrows, you need to like outline and you need to sharpen your pencil so that you can get a very precise line. And also you have to get a steady hands during your brows application so that your brows can be really straight and precise. Also, what you can do is if you have maybe about 3 to 4 pencils, you can sharpen all of them at once, so that you can be switching it as you go, because what we are trying to achieve is a precise brows even without the use of a concealer. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to fill in my brows, and for this step I'm going to be filling it in using short strokes, and I'm going towards the hair direction. I'm not going against her hair direction. You need to sharpen your pencil as well for this step, because for you to get a very detailed and precise brows, you need a very, very, very sharp pencil. So I'm just creating feathery illusion to give the brows a little bit of structure, and I want it to still look as natural as it can be. I don't want it to look imposed on her face. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to define her brows, and for this step I'm using a concealer 2 shades lighter than her complexion to help me pop out the brow bone. I'm using a flat concealer brush for this step. I'm going to be concentrating the light concealer on her brow bone area, and once I place it, I just drag it and then use the brush to diffuse it a little bit. Then I'll be taking it small at a time, carefully carving out my line to make sure that is well defined. The next thing I'm going to be doing is use her foundation shade at the beginning of the brows to help me blend the concealer into the skin properly, to create an illusion, because I don't want to drag the light concealer all over the under the brows. I just want it to be centered on the brow bone area. So basically I'm placing her foundation shade on the beginning and the tail of the brows, and now I'm going to be using my brush, my blending brush, to blend the concealer out. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to set my concealer using a light shade of powder. You need to set your makeup. One thing about makeup artistry, every cream product must be set with a powder product to avoid creasing later on. Moving on to the eyes, I'm going to be applying my base, and the base I'm using for this eye tutorial is Benign Clown White. I'm going to be using this dense blending brush for my application, and I make sure that it's properly blended. The next thing I'm going to be doing is using a powder shade, a soft toned powder shade to transition. I'm using the powder shade to create a transition shade that will help me diffuse the whole colors going on the lid, and then diffuse it into the brow bone. The next color I'm going to be using is this eyeshadow color from the Nude Story eyeshadow palette from Blossom Makeup. I'm going to gently be using a blending brush to spread it out on the outer V area, making sure that it's blending seamlessly into that powder shade that we applied initially. I'm going to be doing the same thing to the other side of the eyes. This brush I'm using for this application is very fluffy. It's not too big, it's not too small either. It's just a perfect brush for blending out your eyeshadow. Basically, for eyeshadow application, just like every other part of the face, you need different sizes of blending brushes to be able to achieve a seamless blend. Makeup entirely is all about blending, so you need all the blending brushes that you can get. So the next color I'll be using is this burgundy color from the same eyeshadow palette that I'm going to be using, and I'm placing it directly beside the outer V color that we just applied. My model is sleeping. My hand is too sweet. Yes, so I'm going to be using a small blending brush to place the eyeshadow directly beside the outer V color that we initially applied, and I'm going to be making sure that everything is blending in seamlessly. I'm going to be using this blending brush to blend out the eyeshadow because I don't want any harsh line at all. My model is really sleeping so badly. Pardon us, guys. So The next color I'm going to be using is this orange color, and I'm going to be concentrating it on the inner corners of the eyes. I'm going to be using a more tinier blending brush to place this eyeshadow on the inner corners of the eyes, and I'm also making sure that I'm blending it out beautifully, because you don't want any harsh line. The next color I'm going to be using is this dark brown. I'm just going to be applying it lightly on the outer V, but not like literally what I'm doing is to blend it into the initial outer V color that we applied using the same blending brush I used earlier. So I'm just going in circular motions to make sure that everything is nice and blended. Next, I'm going to be smudging out her lower lash line using the initial color we applied on her outer V. I'm going to be using this tiny flat brush for this application to help me get a detailed and precise application. Whenever I'm working on the under eyes, I love to use like a very tiny brushes to help me get under the eyes very well. So what I'm applying now is that orange color we applied on the top of the eyelid, and after that I'm going in with this gel liner from Younger Beauty. This gel liner is very dark. Is when you say it's jet black, you can see in the video it's highly pigmented, it doesn't smudge, it stays. So I'm just going to use my angle brush to apply the gel liner on the lower lash line, and now I'm going to be applying it on her upper lash line as well, and everything will be meeting at her tail dot area where I'll be creating a wing, because I wanted a winged eyeliner. So now I'm mapping out how long I want my winged eyeliner to be, and my brush is extremely flat, because if your brush is not flat, your application will not be as precise as what you're seeing in the video. I'm going to be winging out the inner corners of the eyes as well, and literally what I'm doing right now is to create exactly what I did on the other side of the eyes, basically lining the upper lash line, and now I'm going to be winging it out just like I did on the other eyes. I really wanted a good wing liner, and that's exactly what I went for. After that, I'm just going to wing out the inner corners as well to make sure that everything is prim and proper. So the next thing I'll be doing is to apply mascara on her lower lash line, because you need to show some love to the lower lash line as well. And the mascara I'm using is from Zaron Cosmetics. I'm going to be using it on the upper lash line as well to give her lashes a lift, and also to help me like darken it to eliminate all the powders that fell on the lashes. The next thing I'm going to be doing is lips, and for lips, the lipstick I'm using for this outline is Classic Lip Stain in VIP. I'm going to be using this flat lip brush to like map it out, carve out her lips, and I'm very precise with my application. Basically anything that has to do with how will I put it, anything that has to do with outline, yeah, that's the word. Anything that has to do with outline, I take my time, because you don't want to ruin it. You want it to be as precise as possible. So I'm really taking my time. I switch brushes here to help me get the cupid bow very well. Basically everything that has to do with lip structure, eyeliner, eyebrows, contour, you have to be precise. Precision matters a lot. If possible, you can even hold your breath, because I find myself doing it a lot involuntarily. It's a reflex action for me, so I'm just going to be doing the same thing to the lower lip, just outlining it. I'm not using the red color I'm using right now to cover the entire lips. I'm basically using it to like make an outline of how I want my lip shape to be. And her lips, I'm not going against her lip structure. I'm not overlining, I'm just lining directly on her lip. I'm using the red color from the lip palette I used to do her blush. I use for her blush. I'm using a red lip color from there to filling the middle of the lip. And now I'm basically dusting off all the setting powders I have on her face. I added some gloss on her lips to make the lips more pronounced, and the next thing I'm doing is to add highlighter to the high point of her face, her cheek, her forehead, the bridge of her nose basically. And yeah, that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed creating it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also give this video a big thumbs up, comment, and also share with your friends because sharing is caring. I will see you guys in my next video, and until then, bye guys.